Hey guys, you ever see those videos of like a third world tribes person who's got a table saw that looks like it runs on hamsters and good intentions? It's probably built out of like a easy bake oven and some leftover boat parts. I think I saw one on a flux capacitor one time. And then they have some Dr. Seuss looking kind of wood that's all twisted and gnarly. It looks like it probably grew sideways. And then they got this super simple jig. It runs on the top of their table saw and it takes that twisted, gnarly, whimsical driftwood. It goes ahead and turns it into perfect little tiny thin strips. And then they take those little tiny thin strips and they weave it all into like some kind of four-piece king set bedroom set over there. The dresser, the headboard, the nightstands. Maybe they make a lamp. I don't know what they're doing over there. So you know what I thought? I need one of those super simple jigs. I could build that. Everyone needs a thin strip jig like they do over there in the other parts of the world, right? Well, it turns out I can't even build it 4 times. So apparently those jigs aren't super simple. I have to go and come up with my own solutions over here. So I'm not going to try to sell you any plans. I'm not going to give you any courses. There's no link down below for nothing because you know why? I suck at building these jigs. So let's go ahead and come up with our own solution. So let's go watch this disaster of a video, which later becomes a success story. All right, so here's failure number 1. I went ahead and made the base. I cut it to size, and then I glued and screwed a part on there so I can clamp it down to the fence. You see that little wiggle right there? It's not part of the design. Definitely wasn't right. I should probably stop here and start again. But I didn't. I figured if I force it to work, it probably would be okay. At this point, it seems like denial is my most important power tool. Doesn't even require any batteries or nothing. Let's go be 100% with each other here. So it didn't shave it perfect. And as I was doing the plunge cut, it seemed to be off a little bit. I don't think it's going to really affect anything, but I'm going to go ahead and trim this off and kind of see where we're at. All right, guys, we're going to stop right here. This jig's not working out. There's too many mistakes. It's too wonky. I tried to kind of force it to work too much. I don't like it. We're going to scrap it and start again. All right, here's the new start. Here's the new jig right here. So apparently I evolved from the last attempt, and now we're moving forward. And then I cut the jig almost completely in half. So now there's no way to reinforce the bottom because the jig just isn't big enough. I really can't clamp it down to the table saw or nothing. And then the splitter wedge is in the wrong place. It's exactly the same mistake I made on the first one. The cut piece will never pass that little speed bump on the saw blade right there. All right, here's attempt number 4. This is the 3rd jig and the 4th mistake. By the time I'm done with this version, it technically works. Technically works is like the worst type of failure. All right, so I got my base. I do the plunge cut through the base. I go ahead and mark the kerf line so I know where to put the wedge. I cut the base down to the right length. I'm smart enough now to make it the right size on a table saw. I go ahead and glue on a stop. I add the splitting wedge right here. I do a little practice with a little thin strip that I cut earlier. I do a little practice to make sure that the wedge part will split the wood away from the piece I'm trying to cut. Okay, so here's the technically works part. I got the jig set up and I go ahead and make a couple of cuts, and the thin strips come out wildly inconsistent. They're not the same thickness all the way through. They're not even close. They're way off. Oh, and look, the thin strip broke on this one. Isn't that special? All right, quick interruption here. So you don't really need a complicated jig or nothing. Sometimes you just need a push stick. Yeah, it's a push stick. I know. But listen, the big base right here and the thinness of the push stick allows me to run the board that I'm trying to cut up against the fence for about an inch or so. And I don't have to adjust the fence. I just keep running the board against the fence. And I know there's this big, huge urban legend about kickback when you cut too thin or something. But if I go ahead and have this push stick, I can control the board, push it all the way through, hold it down. And once my pieces clear the blade, no more kickback, right? Now, I'm sure there's some kind of 3-4 OSHA regulations for at-home woodworking garage people. I don't care. This is going to allow me to push it all the way through. Once it's past the blade, I'm good to go. So solution number 1, is this push stick right here. Now, let's go see how it's done. All right, here's solution number 2. Solution number 2 is a jig that I already knew worked. I already demonstrated this in a completely different video. I even made a short of it. Look here. What I'm building here is basically the same thin strip jig I used before. The key idea behind it is to be able to create a positive stop, something that's solid that I can keep running the wood up to while adjusting the fence. And this time I upgraded it. I added a wheel. So now it's high tech and all terrain. I got this 1/8 inch board. I'm going to go ahead and use this to measure. So 1/8 inch thick. I go ahead and put it against the table saw blade, adjust my jig, and then I go ahead and run my piece through it. I then measure it again, tighten up the fence, run my piece through it again. Boom. 2 1/8 inch strips. All right, hey, you see on this micrometer right here, I'm measuring all the sides for you so I don't seem like I'm doing any YouTube magic here. I am 1/100th of an inch off on some of those boards. And I don't know if that's my table saw, or honestly, I don't know if the scrap piece of wood I was using had a 1/100th of an inch problem. Hey guys, thanks for watching all to the end. I really appreciate it. So an entire video of me just screwing up jigs, huh? Just to pump out a couple of thin strips here. So I know the whole video is me making a bunch of mistakes and screwing stuff up. And eventually I just came back to the simplest answer, making a jig that I already kind of knew was going to work when I started. I probably should have just started with that one. The video would have been a whole lot shorter and I would have looked like I knew what I was doing. But we got it done, and I hope you learned by watching my mistakes. I hope it inspired you to go build your own jigs correctly the first time so they work, right? But other than that, guys, I appreciate you watching. And if you enjoy watching me screw stuff up, just like that. If you enjoy watching me screw stuff up, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Leave me a comment down below about, what you like about the videos, what you don't like, what you like to see me build. Well, try to build, you know what I mean? But other than that, guys, let's keep this YouTube channel rolling. Out. Thanks, guys.